on the beat. Ozarks Sports Report YouTube show here, joined by the head coach of the Glendale Falcons, Coach Jim Julian. And for today's show, we're going to be doing a season recap with the head coach of the Glendale Falcons, Coach Jim Julian. Recapping their games from the 2019 spring season. Glendale went 22-8, and they went to the Class 5 state quarterfinal, and their losses came to Platte County, Summit West out of Kansas City, Lebanon, Jefferson City, Helias Catholic, Fayetteville out of Arkansas, Willard, Republic, and Willard in the Class 5 state quarterfinals. Coach Julian, what was the chemistry that you had going into this 2019 spring season?
We had really good chemistry. We were a really senior-laden ball team with some quality leadership, and those seniors, they were really hard workers all year, stuck together, really good teammates, and great kids and good players. So anytime you have that combination, it's the recipe for a pretty successful year.
Recipe for a pretty successful year in this on the senior with a lot of seniors there for Glendale. And so, with one thing is, what was one definition that you say you had for this season?
Probably togetherness. We had, like I said, we had a lot of guys that were really good friends, not only on the field, but outside of school and everything else and during school. And so, we just guys that played together for a long time and liked to play with each other and didn't want to let each other down.
Didn't want to let each other down is one big key to have during the season. And we got to talk about those wins. You had 22 wins on the season. What was the most important win that really defined your season throughout this year?
Probably that either the district championship win or that win against Camdenton to get to the quarterfinal game. That's some things that the Glendale baseball program hasn't done in a long time, and those were two huge wins for us, and I was just happy to get those wins for the kids, and they earned it through their hard work throughout the entire season. So I was just happy for those guys that they could accomplish a couple of those goals and do some things that we haven't done in a long time.
Do some things you haven't done in a long time, which is go all the way to the quarterfinals and meet up with Willard, which Willard went all the way to the Final Four and took third place in the state championship. And so, what was the most exciting win that you guys had throughout this season?
That district championship game where we came back, we were down 2-0 to Nixa, and they were kind of in control the entire game. Their pitcher did a really good job. We hit some balls hard, just kind of right at people, but anytime we got a little momentum, they would get it right back, until the sixth inning, and then got some guys on base, were able to do some things, and our team did a good job of not being frustrated the entire game and just trying to get good pitches to hit. And finally, some of those balls we hit hard found some holes, and we were able to score 4 runs there. And then Timmy Glenn came in for David Wells on the mound, who did a great job in that start and closed it out. And our defense played well behind both those guys on the mound, and that was just a really, really exciting win for us to come from behind, especially.
Come from behind it is, and that's one thing that coaches want to do is if they're behind, is come from behind and win. And another thing is that we've heard is Ty Wilmsmeyer, who is one player from Glendale who's actually going to Mizzou. So what's he have in mind as he comes out of Glendale and he transitions onto college to play at Mizzou?
He's really excited, and we're really proud of him for that accomplishment. But, he's a hard worker, so I think he'll be just fine. He'll love the grind, so to speak, of college baseball, and, I think he's going to be just fine, and we're really excited for him. He's playing with a team with the Midwest Nationals this summer, just trying to keep his game sharp, and then he's going to go up there, and they start pretty soon after they get on campus, after they kind of get settled in and get a couple days of classes under their belt. They'll start with their fall workouts, and so he'll hit the ground running, but he's going to love every minute of it, and he's excited, and we're excited for him.
Excited for him is what we've heard. And now we got to move on to the dark side of wins, and that's losses. So what is the most learning or educational loss that you guys had throughout this season?
I would say our couple losses, Platte County and Lee Summit West, kind of early in the season. We started 3-0, and then I don't know if we got to feeling kind of good about ourselves, but we kind of got flat there for a few games and played some really good teams, and they put it to us and showed that, you can't come out and expect the other team to roll over, so to speak. You got to come out, expect to win, and then play like it. And so that was kind of a huge learning curve, I guess you could say, for us early in the season, and I think that helped, the rest of the way, especially being down and especially some of the tougher games that we had.
Some tougher games that you've had, and another thing that happens throughout the educational loss or learning loss is another one. It's called the disappointing or the toughest loss. So what was your most toughest loss or your most disappointing loss that you guys had throughout this season?
That was probably be the Willard game in the quarterfinals. It was a great game both ways. It was well played, but it was just a case of, that's baseball. We stranded 9 runners. We couldn't get a hit when we needed one. They got a big hit in a huge spot, and we just couldn't battle back. So that was it was disappointing in the way that it ended. I wasn't disappointed in the way that we played or our approach to the game. We were ready to go. Ty was on the mound. He threw great. Defense played great behind him, and we just got beat. It's one of those things. But anytime you make it that far with a group of guys like we had, it's always disappointing at the late ends.
Disappointing it is in the late ends, especially when you've battled hard, you've played hard throughout a game, and even throughout the entire season. As once again, Glendale was 22-8 on the season, losing to Willard at the end of the season. And as we heard on our Twitter page that you were actually in the running for the Ozarks Sports Report Coach of the Year, and one pitcher from Glendale who won the Pitcher of the Year, that is Ty Wilmsmeyer. So kind of tell me about what Ty Wilmsmeyer brings when he's on the mound for Glendale, and kind of tell me about what you've done to be in the running for the Coach of the Year.
The second one is easy. You have good players. That's always going to make you look good as a coach. But, for Ty, his velocity jumped up about 5 or 6 miles an hour kind of during the off season. He was mid-80s, upper 80s as a junior. Was always a strike thrower, had good stuff, could locate well. And then, going back to what I said about his work ethic, he works really hard and worked really hard this off season on his arm strength, and he hit 93 this year a couple times and was consistently 90 to 92, and had a good breaking ball and really developed his changeup over the course of the winter and over the course of the spring. And so he had 3 pitches he could throw for strikes, and then when you get velocity in the low 90s, you're going to be tough, no matter what. And so he wanted the baseball as often as he could get it, and didn't want to come out of games. And so, just with the pitch count, you got to be really efficient if you want to stay in the game for a long time. And he did a good job of getting ahead of hitters and then put them away. And his strikeout numbers were up. He had, 91 strikeouts this year, but he did a really good pitching to contact and trusting his defense behind him to make plays, and they did make a lot of plays.
His defense did make a lot of plays when Wilmsmeyer was on the mound for the Falcons. And as we now move on from the spring of 2019 now to the spring of 2020, what is going to be the objective? What's going to be taught in the locker room for this Glendale team? And also, what do you expect from the Ozark Conference as well as in Class 5 baseball?
Well, for us, we're going to be a totally different team. Graduated 9 guys, so a lot of new faces to the varsity lineup. We're going to have a lot more team speed. but we're not going to have the power that we had in the middle of the lineup this year. So, and this summer we really worked on trying to move the ball, get on base, doing a lot of running, whether it's hit and run, straight steal, delay, doing whatever we can to put any kind of pressure on the pitcher and on the defense. And when we've been able to do that this summer, we've been pretty successful. But, step one is always getting on base in those situations. But we've got our 2 and 3 pitcher, or our 2A and 2B pitchers back from last year with Timmy Glenn and David Wells. And we've got some youngsters that are coming up that had pretty good JV seasons and got a little bit of time on the varsity field last year with Zach Beatty. And so I think we're looking forward to those guys stepping up, and I think we'll be all right on the mound and defensively, and then just trying to manufacture runs.
Manufacture runs it is. And now what we expect from the Ozark Conference as well as Class 5 in baseball?
The Ozark Conference is always going to be tough. Whether, you're playing one of the better teams, so to speak, of the season, or one of the bottom in the conference of any given season, anybody can beat you. So you're going to have to be ready to play each and every night you play a conference game. Because, like I said, everybody's got pretty good arms and everybody can swing it. So it's a dogfight day in and day out in the Ozark Conference, which is great because it prepares us for district play and hopefully beyond. And and those games are always fun when you're in a tight conference game or a tight conference race. But it's just a really good conference. I'm happy to be a part of it, and look forward to next year.
Next year it is, and we believe it's going to be your third year in the conference. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's going to be your third year. And now, what we heard was during the MLB draft, we had one player come out of the Ozark Conference from Kickapoo, and that was Mason Auer, who was drafted by the Chicago Cubs. Kind of give me your scouting report, but he declined to sign with the Chicago Cubs and move on to Missouri State. So kind of tell me about what your scouting report was on Auer when you guys have faced him at Kickapoo or against Kickapoo.
Yeah, I'm happy for Mason. He's a good kid. I know he works hard too. He's going to go to Missouri State and probably be a stud there, I'm sure, just like he was at Kickapoo. But his command got a lot better this year. He was the kind of guy the book on him was just kind of wait him out. He would reach his pitch count and then he would get out maybe the 5th inning or so, and then you could hopefully get to somebody in their bullpen. But his command got a lot better. His curveball has always been pretty good, but it got a lot sharper, and he could throw it for strikes more often. And he's just a tough pitcher. He comes at you from all different kinds of angles and different pitches anytime in the count, and throws hard, and sometimes effectively wild, and gets a lot of swing and misses with him. But I think he got drafted as an outfielder, but he's got a big arm, obviously, and a really good athlete. So he's going to go to Missouri State, and I'm not sure if he's going to go both ways or if he's just going to pitch. But I look forward to seeing him compete at that next level too.
It'll be very exciting to see a former chief from Kickapoo, and I'm pretty sure it'd be really nice if we don't know if the Missouri State and Mizzou will be playing each other next spring, which is a Williams-Meyer versus Auer kind of game. You think you'll expect that in college?
Yeah, I think they will. They have, the last couple of years, they've done a home and home. So, yeah, that would be fun. Look forward to that a lot.
Also, another thing was you guys played a school out of Arkansas, which was Fayetteville. So what is different about baseball that's down in the natural state as opposed to baseball that's up here in the Show Me State?
That area in Arkansas is a really good area for baseball. Fayetteville and Benton and Rogers and that whole northwest Arkansas area is really a hotbed for baseball, especially with the University of Arkansas being right there and the success that they've had. But, what you can expect from an Arkansas team seems like, whether from the time I was at Forsyth and we played them or to last year at Fayetteville, they're really scrappy. They're really tough-minded kids, and every one of them up and down the lineup is going to compete at the plate, and they're all tough outs, and that, over the course of a game, they just kind of grind you down, and that's kind of what happened this year. They got on us and just kept grinding, and just kind of beat us into the ground, I guess you could say. But it's always fun to play teams like that, and especially good teams from that area. And anytime you can play somebody that you don't usually see a lot out of conference, it's always good for your program, I think. So we try to do a good job of scheduling some of those guys every year, and some people that we don't see throughout the year are out of conference schedule.
As what we've heard of, there hasn't been any conference changes for next year, which we knew that Joplin left last year and Central took Joplin's place. So, do you think there's going to be some changes going into the Ozark Conference? Like, is it going to be like new rules that are going to be going into the Ozark Conference, or like another team's going to be coming in, or what's going to be changed in the Ozark Conference as rule-wise and team-wise?
Nothing that I've heard. I don't think there's going to be. I haven't heard of any changes in the next couple of years. Usually you get a couple of years' notice or so, or at least a year's notice if there's going to be a team moving in or out, or any rule changes or anything like that. But nothing that I've heard right now.
Also, another thing is if you could put up the Ozark Conference against any other Class 5 conference that's here in Missouri, even in Southwest Missouri, do you think the Ozark Conference can compete as well as the COC? Do you think those two conferences can compete against other big conferences that represent Class 5 in Missouri?
Yeah, I think so. Kickapoo schedules a lot of teams, in the Columbia area and St. Louis, and we try to as well. And Nixon, Ozark, Willard, they all do kind of the same thing. And the list goes on and on. I'm sure I'm missing a lot of people, but yeah, we always try to schedule those conferences and people that we don't necessarily see every year, just in case, use it for a strength of schedule thing, or, in case we see them in postseason play possibly, or anything like that. And before we let you go, if there were any final words you had to say to all the coaches that you played from this past season, including your final coach that you guys played of Scott McGee from Willard, what would be your words to Coach Scott McGee and the rest of the coaches that you played throughout this season? All the coaches we play against are great guys. Kind of baseball is kind of a brotherhood, I guess you could say. So always fun to compete against those guys. I've made some friends in my career, and probably some lifelong friends. But it's always fun to compete against really good programs and really good coaches like Coach McGee and some of the others we faced this year. But just looking forward to it for next year.
Look forward to it for next year. As that will wrap up today's show for today. We hope you enjoyed our show. We hope you enjoyed us sitting down with the head coach of the Glendale Falcons, Coach Jim Julian. If you'd like to stay connected with their social media, be sure to like them on Facebook. Also follow them on Twitter. Their Twitter is at GHS Baseball SPS. Once again, that's GHS Baseball SPS on Twitter. If you'd like to stay connected with Ozark Sports Report through our social media, be sure to like us on Facebook. Also follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram. And check out our website. Also check out Glendale's website, as their website will be at glendalebaseball.weebly.com. Once again, that's glendalebaseball.weebly.com. Our website is ozarksportsreport.wixsite.com/ozarksportsreport. One final time, we want to thank head coach Jim Julian for sitting down with us to recap the 2019 season. And we also congratulate him on a tremendous season as he took his team all the way to the quarterfinals to take on Willard. One final time, I'm Adam Smith from the Ozark Sports Report saying, have a good day, everybody.